Greetings everyone. Let us begin our study with a Shanti Mantra, peace chant from the Shiva Mahimna Stotram. You all know we have chanted several verses from this hymn, Shiva Mahimna Stotram, describing the glories of Lord Shiva, composed by a Gandharva whose name was Pushpadanta. This is a very famous hymn. So this is on page 170 of the book Universal Prayers, and the top of page 170, and the English translation is on top of page 171. So let us chant. Om Namo Nedishtaya Priyadavadavishtaya cha Namo Namah Kshodishtaya Smarahara Mahishtaya cha Namaha Namo Varshishtaya Trinayana Yavishtaya cha Namo Namas Sarvasmai Te Tadida Tadidamati Sarvaya Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Salutations. One second. Salutations to thee, O Lord unattached, who art nearest and yet farthest. Salutations to thee, O destroyer of animal passions, who art the smallest of the small and yet art the greatest of the great. Salutations to thee, O possessor of the highest wisdom, who art ancient and yet ever youthful. Salutations to thee, who art all things seen and unseen, and yet beyond them all. Om peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. And may there be peace everywhere in nature. Okay, let us continue our study of chapter 5. We have to do verse number 20. In this chapter, one of the many important things is in verse number 18. The verse number 18, there Bhagavan Sri Krishna gives us the instruction, very important instruction, to practice same-sightedness. Samadarshitvam. That means we should look upon all and everything as divine in the same way. In spite of differences in the outward behavior and appearance of people and other beings, in everyone the same divine resides in the same way. That is the one most basic thing in Vedanta we have to always keep in mind. With whomever we are dealing, with whatever we are dealing, whatever work we are doing, the divine presence is there. But everyone is not aware of the divine presence. May not even believe in the existence of God. That's another thing. But the truth is always true. It does not depend upon whether people believe it in or not. The truth is, according to Vedanta, the same divine presence is in all. This is what Swamiji said in his famous statement, each soul is potentially divine. He was commenting on a aphorism, Patanjali's yoga aphorism. There he said, each soul is potentially divine, and the goal is to manifest that divinity by following any of the yogas. Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, whatever yoga, Karma Yoga, we can practice by practicing that. We have to realize our divinity which is within us all. And these other things like books and temples and scriptures and doctrines, those are all secondary. We can use them if they are helpful, but they are not the final things. The final thing is we have to realize our divine nature. And we have to, how do we do that one? We start seeing the divine in all and everything that we come across, including ourselves. So whenever you see somebody, you should remember, you don't have to say anything to that person. We should remember that God is in that person. Person, animal, plant, thing, a situation, anything. Whenever we see anything, God is there. That thought has to be put into the mind constantly until it becomes our experience. What we think frequently becomes our experience. Swami Turiyanandaji said, today's imagination is tomorrow's realization. We have to try to visualize God's presence in all and everything. Sometimes it is difficult. Some people make it very difficult for us to see God in them. That is the challenge. So the verse number 18 in chapter 5 describes that same sightedness. It's very interesting verse, important verse. It is, we have to study it again and again and think about it. The verse says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shunichaiva Shvapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha. Pandita means a wise person, one who has knowledge. Panditas, knowledgeable, wise people, they are Samadarshina, they have same sightedness. They look upon everybody, everything alike. Alike means with compassion and respect. Nicely we deal with people. Though there are challenging situations. Sri Ramakrishna said, when you see a unhelpful, wicked being, we have to stay away from such a being. He told the parable of the wild elephant. In the Gospel, you all have read the parable of the wild elephant, and the little Gurukulam boy, student in the forest hermitage. When the wild elephant was coming, all other boys ran away to safety, but this one boy stood there right in the path of the wild elephant and started praying, "Oh Lord, you have come in the form of the wild elephant, I bow down to you." Elephant does not know anything about God. It is true God is in the wild elephant, but the wild elephant is not aware of it. It's behaving like a wild elephant. So you have to stay away from such people. You don't have to be have close friendship with people who are not of a sattvic nature. Our transactions, if necessary, should be minimal with such people. But from a distance, we have to recognize God's presence in them. Just when we go to the zoo, there are all kinds of wild animals are there. Tigers and lions and other things are there. We should not go close to them. We should stay away on the other side of the fence, and from a distance we bow down to them, but they don't know anything about God. So that is how we have to apply this same sightedness principle. Vidyavaniya Sampanne Brahmane. At one end of the spectrum of creation, the best of human beings is there, endowed with knowledge and humility. Vidya Vinaya. Brahmana, innover of Brahman. Such persons are there. At the other end of the spectrum, there is Svapaka, lowest person in society who does not have an education, no culture, because of circumstances. People are born in different circumstances. They have no chance to become educated. They are struggling for just basic needs, existence. So what can you expect from them? Such people are there. They have no education. They don't have any chance to get education. Not that they don't want to, but it's not possible. And in between there are animals also. Gavi, go means cow, a sattvic animal, gives nutritious milk and other products. So in the Hindu culture, much importance is given to cow. We worship cow, Gomata, mother cow, because we recognize clearly God's presence in the cow. It's not a ferocious animal like a tiger or a lion, very sattvic animal. That is cow. Hastini, elephant, majestic being. Left to itself, it is a very calm, nice being. And people needlessly poach, kill elephants for the ivory and other things. This is extremely selfish and cruel behavior on the part of some people. Killing innocent wild animals. They live in the forest and we should let them live there. No, but we have greed. We want to buy, we want to make money by selling the ivory and other products. So, it should not be done. We should respect the animals. Hastini. Shuni, dogs. Dog is known to be the man's best friend. Dogs can encounter dangerous situation to save the master. Very faithful beings. So we should respect them. God is present in all these beings, but animals don't know. It's not their fault. They are not designed to know anything about God. They are living by instinct. That's how nature made them. But people can know God's presence. We have that special ability, faculty given to us by God of not only overcoming our animal tendencies, of transcending human weaknesses and rising to the divine level. Everybody can do that one. So that's what we have to see. So same-centeredness comes again in the 6th chapter, verse number 9. We'll study that when we get there. Now, that is one important instruction, same-sidedness. In this chapter, another very important instruction comes. That means equanimity under all circumstances. Pain and pleasure, gain and loss, praise and blame. Whatever happens, I remain calm. That ability is very, very important for a spiritual seeker. You should not become upset no matter what the conditions are. That is explained in verse number 20. We have to do verse number 20 today. So let us start with verse number 20. Na prahrishyeet priyam prapya nodvijet prapya cha priyam sthirabuddhirasam mudho brahmavid brahmani sthitaha. Very nice verse, very important verse. 18 and 20, two key verses in chapter 5. Na prahrishyeet priyam prapya na udvijet prapya cha apriyam sthirabuddhi asammudaha brahmavid brahmani sthitaha. Priyam prapya. Priyam means something pleasant that we like. Sometimes in our life, good things happen. Pleasant things happen. Agreeable things happen. When such agreeable things, pleasant things happen, priyam prapya, then what we should do? Na prahrishyeet. We should not become too much exalted. Accept it calmly. Good things have happened. Thank God. Good things have happened. Thankful, grateful. And if possible, share it with others. Joy, when shared, becomes multiplied. If I am happy, if I share my happiness with others, my happiness becomes more. It does not become less. So, na prahrishyeet. We should not become too much exalted and proud, and we should not assume that it will continue like that. Next moment, things will change. So, okay, accept it calmly. Good things, when good things happen. One instruction. Priyam prapya na prahrishyeet. One. Second instruction is apriyam prapya na udvijet. Apriya means unpleasant things happen, painful things happen, loss happens, people blame us needlessly. All those things happen. Apriyam prapya, when unpleasant experience comes, what we should do? Na udvijet. We should not become disturbed. If some loss happens or pain comes, we should not become too much disturbed. We have to accept it also calmly. Just as we accept good things, we accept bad things. Both are inevitable. Embodiment means suffering is inevitable. Whether you are born as a human being or animal or a plant, if you are born with a body, then suffering is inevitable. That we have to accept. Even the strongest people, greatest people have had suffering. So we are no exception. So we have to accept suffering is there. Accept it calmly. Do what is necessary, but not be too much disturbed. We should not lament too much when unpleasant things happen. Vilapa. And we should not complain. We should not brood over bad things, past and future, about unpleasant things in the past and what unpleasant things may happen in the future. We should not brood unnecessarily over those things. Brooding and lamentation, chinta vilapa, these two things we have to not do. So, apriyam prapya no dvijet. When unpleasant things happen, pain comes, loss happens, we should not become too much disturbed. Remain calm under all circumstances. Samattam yoga uchyate, it came in the second chapter. Such people, sthira buddhihi. Sthira buddhi means, here Shankaracharya says, sarvabhuteshu ekah samah nirdosha atma iti sthira nirvichikitsa buddhi yasya sa sthira buddhihi. That means, one whose intellect is steady, sthira buddhi. Buddhi means intellect, sthira means fixed, steady. Free from all doubts about the existence of God, who is convinced that in all the beings abides the flawless self. Conviction we must develop that in all the beings, same divine is present. And we should have firm conviction in that faith. That is sthira buddhi, firm intellect. Sthira buddhi, such people who have same-sightedness and equanimity, they have firm conviction that the same divine is present in all. Asammodaha, free from delusion, free from ignorance. Brahmavit, knower of Brahman. When who knows Brahman? Brahmani sthitaha, established in God consciousness. Knower of Brahman becomes Brahman, Upanishad says. Brahmavit, Brahmaiva bhavati. Like this, a very famous statement is there in the Upanishad. A knower of Brahman becomes one with Brahman. Here knowledge means experience, not theoretical knowledge. When somebody says, I know God, that means not intellectually knowing God by reading books. That's not the main thing. That may be the first step. But knowledge in Vedanta means experiencing the truth, becoming one with it. Knowing God means knowing God experientially. God's presence must be felt as a tangible experience. And eventually we should become one with the divine. That is knowledge, Vedantic knowledge. So people who practice these two virtues, same-sightedness as in 518, samadarshitva, and equanimity under all circumstances in pain and pleasure, such people who have firm conviction about the presence of God in all, who are free from ignorance, asammodaha, who know the divine, Brahmavid, who know God, they are established in God consciousness. They are established in God. Brahmani sthitaha. So very nice verse. Practicing equanimity. Life offers every day something happens to challenge our calmness of mind. Good things happen, then it's not a big problem. We can deal with good things. Nobody complains why this good thing has happened to me. You accept it. In the same way, every day something happens, big or small, that challenges our equanimity. Then the test is, can I remain calm when unpleasant things happen? That is the test. Every day we get that test. Every day is an opportunity to practice equanimity. So this verse number 20, which teaches equanimity, is very important. Actually, this has come before. In the second chapter, equanimity came. If you remember, there is one sloka in chapter 2, sloka, verse number 38. Same thing Sri Krishna says. And it will come again in the 13th chapter also. Equanimity will come in the 13th chapter also. In the second chapter, verse number 38, Sri Krishna said to Arjuna, remain calm in pain and pleasure, in gain and loss, in success and failure. That verse is very important, 238. Sukha dukkhe same kritva labha labhau jaya jayau tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papamavapsyasi. 238. Sukha dukkhe same kritva. Sukha means happiness. Dukkha means unhappiness. Same kritva, considering equally, remaining equanimous in happiness and unhappiness. Labha alabhau same kritva. Labha means gain, profit. Alabha means loss. Sometimes you gain, sometimes you lose. Equal, remaining calm under both circumstances, gain or loss, pain or pleasure. Jaya ajayu same kritva. Jaya means success. When you do something, sometimes you succeed. Sometimes in spite of hard work, we fail to achieve the goal. Then we should remain calm in success and failure. Because, as we studied in the second chapter, success and failure are not in our control. Sri Krishna said, very famous verse, 2 verses in second chapter, 47-48, where Sri Krishna said, you have jurisdiction in regard to the work you do. You can do some changes there. In regard to the fruit of work, you have no control. Very famous verse in the Gita, second chapter, 47. Sri Krishna said, you have no authority to control the result of your work, though you are the doer. Karmanyevadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Karmani eva te adhikaraha. Your jurisdiction, power, control is only in regard to the work you do. To some extent, they are also not 100%. Phaleshu mate adhikaraha. In regard to fruit of action, you have no control. Because the result of our action depends upon other factors besides what we do, our effort. That we have studied before, it will come again. Therefore, we should do the best and accept the outcome, success or failure, calmly. That equanimity in success and failure has come earlier. Sukha dukkhe same kritva, 238. Labha alabhau same kritva, jaya ajau same kritva. Treating equally happiness and unhappiness, profit and loss, gain and loss, success and failure. These things are inevitable. Remaining calm is the key. So this verse number 20, Sri Krishna in this verse teaches equanimity under all circumstances. Some people get easily upset over small things. Something small happens and they overreact. Oh, they become angry, yell and scream and make the situation far worse. It is called the second arrow. First arrow is When something unpleasant happens, pain happens, that is as if you are struck by an arrow. That is inevitable in anybody's life. But how we react to it, whether we react in the right way and deal with it, or we react in the wrong way and make it worse, that we add to the problem by reacting in the improper way. That is second arrow. First arrow has come, and instead of removing it, I put one more arrow there, make the pain worse. We should not do that one. How we react to circumstances in life is in our hands. What happens is not always in our hands. So when apriyam prapya, when unpleasant things happen, you should not make it worse by reacting to it in the improper way. What is the proper way? Is three things have to be done when unpleasant things happen. How to remain calm. That's the important thing. Let us discuss that. How to remain calm when unpleasant things, painful things happen. First thing we have to do is to foresee and take preventive measures to prevent unpleasant situations. In family relationships, in workplace relationships, everywhere, we have to foresee what might happen, what might go wrong, and take preventive measures to prevent that possibility. How do we do that one? For example, we should buy health insurance, because in case I become sick, then I should have some recourse, some resource. So insurance will, like that one. Buying property insurance, home insurance, health insurance, car insurance, these are all preventive measures to deal with the unpleasant things in case they happen. We are ready with some recourse. That is one thing, to prevent, foresee and prevent. Being careful in our what we say and do. If I say something without thinking, that may create an unpleasant situation, and people may react in an unpleasant way. So I should be careful not to say unwise thing, improper thing. That's my preventive measure. How I behave in workplace, in family, with other people, how do I speak, how do I act, that's in my hands. We should act in such a way that we do not give occasion for unpleasant things to happen by improper actions or speech. That's our preventive measure, one. Second thing we have to do is to take remedial measures when unpleasant things do happen. In spite of taking all preventive measures, unpleasant things do happen. No matter how careful we are in regard to health, proper food, exercise, sleep and everything, we may be taking all precautions. Still people may become sick. So then what we should do? Take remedial measures. Second measure. Take some help. If drain gets clogged, call the plumber. If health becomes a problem, go to the doctor. These are remedial measures. So, second thing, preventive measure, remedial measure. In spite of taking remedial measures, problem may still remain or new problem may come. Then what we have to do? Third step, forbear calmly, without lamenting, without brooding. Practice forbearance. Three things we have to do. First thing, preventive measure. Second thing, remedial measure. If still problem persists, third thing is practice forbearance. Whatever cannot be cured has to be endured. Calmly, without complaining, without lamenting, without becoming angry and yelling and screaming, without making the situation worse, nicely, calmly forbear what cannot be prevented or remedied. Three things we have to do. That is practice of forbearance. Now, apriyam prapya now dvijayet, second part of first line, so verse number 20. When unpleasant things happen, we should not become disturbed and make the situation worse. Deal with it calmly, nicely. Try to deal with this situation, but not make it worse by reacting improperly. That is the instruction. So verse number 20. Before I leave it, I will chant once more because I like this verse very much. 18 and 20, these two verses I like very much. Practical instruction. What you are studying in Gita is all practice. There is not much theory or philosophy here. We can talk all about Atman, Paramatman, Jivatman, Vedanta, everything is same, all the theory we can discuss endlessly. But what matters is how we act. Action. Practical instructions are given in the Gita. Gita is a Yoga Shastra. Adhyatma Vidya is also there. Knowledge of self is also there. Came in 2nd chapter, will come in other chapters, 13th chapter, etc. But more important is, what can I do today to make my life successful and to reach the goal of realization? What can I do this moment? That is what I am interested in. It's what I do that matters, not what I study or believe in or some philosophy. That are helpful, but action. This is all practical instruction in Gita we are studying. It's chapter 3, 4, 5. Very practical. 6th also very practical. So let us do chant 20 and then we go to next verse. Na prahrashyet priyam prapya nodvijet prapya cha priyam sthira buddhirasam modho brahmavid brahmani sthitaha. Very nice verse. We have to study it again and again. Equanimity under all circumstances. Now, verse number 21. 21, 22 are very nice verses. Let us do verse number 21. Here, Sri Krishna tells us where to find happiness. It already came in the 2nd chapter. When you studied the qualities of Achita Prajna, a sage of study wisdom, in 2nd chapter, verse number 55 to 72, a big section describing the various virtues of a knower of God, Sthita Prajna, sage of study wisdom. There we studied this one, where to find happiness. Not in the external world, not in sense objects, not in money, fame and beauty and youth and property. They don't give us happiness. Very temporary if they give. Real happiness comes from where? From within. It is already there inherently. God is sitting there. Infinite joy, Ananda is sitting there. That's our true nature, Satchidananda. We are that. But somehow it is not being experienced. A veil of ignorance is covering the presence of infinite bliss within us, Ananda within us. So where do we look for happiness? Verse number 21 says, not in the external world outside. If you look for happiness in fame, popularity, in youth and beauty, in food and sensory pleasures, we will not find it there. Very temporary, some pleasure will come, combined with unpleasantness and pain. Eventually, only pain will remain. That we know from earlier study. So let us do verse number 21, where Sri Krishna says, where you can find true happiness. Bhashyasparsheshvasaktatma vindatyatmani yat sukham sabrahmayoga yuktatma sukhamakshayamashnuте. Bhashyasparsheshu asaktatma vindati atmani yat sukham saha brahmayoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnute. Separate words. Who finds infinite joy? Akshayam sukham. Akshaya means imperishable. Sukha means happiness. Ashnute, one experience. Who experiences infinite happiness, unconditional happiness, eternal happiness? Who can do that one? The answer is given here. Bahya sparsheshu asaktatma. First thing. Bahya means external, outside. Sparsha means sense objects. Sparsha means contact. Contact with sense objects. Pleasant things. Another beautiful, good-looking person, youthful person from whom you expect happiness, or some property, or money, or position, or fame. These are all external things. If you look for happiness in these things, it's very temporary experience. Soon it will vanish. That you have studied before will come again. A person who is not pursuing, is not interested in external pleasures, Bhashya Sparsheshu, in external sense objects, Asaktatma, a person who is not attached to them, not looking for happiness in the external sense object. Sense object to me another person also, can be a situation, can be some work, can be some accomplishment. In all these things, if you look for happiness, you won't find there. What you find is temporary experience of pleasure. It will go away soon. A person who does not look for happiness in the outside sense objects, Bhashya Sparsheshu Asaktatma, Atmani Yat Sukham Vindati. In the self, Atmani means in the self within, the divine presence within. There, whatever happiness we find, that is infinite happiness, Akshayam Sukham. Infinite, immeasurable, eternal, unconditional happiness is within us already. It was never absent, is not absent now. But only we are unable to tap it, harness it. We are looking for happiness in the wrong place where it cannot be found, in the outside objects, outside world. Saha, such a person who looks for happiness, finds happiness in the self within, not in the external objects of the world. Saha, such a person, Brahma Yoga Yuktatma. Brahma Yoga Yuktatma means Brahmani Yoga Samadhi. Brahma Yoga, Tena Brahma Yogena Yukta Samahita. Tasmin Vyaprataha Atma Antakarana Yasyasa Brahma Yoga Yuktatma. That means united with Brahman. Yoga means union with Brahman. Brahma Yoga Yuktatma. A person who is united with Brahman refers to concentration on Brahman. Samadhi means concentration on Brahman. Concentrating on the divine presence within, not on some objects outside, looking for happiness there. Such a person means engaging in concentration, engaged in the concentration on the self within. Such a person will experience inexhaustible bliss. Saha Akshayam Sukham Ashnute. That means a person who focuses, concentrates on the self within, or does not look for happiness in the outside sense objects, such a person experiences infinite, immeasurable, unconditional, eternal peace and joy. Akshayam Sukham Ashnute. So where to look for happiness is explained here, not in the external world. That's where most people look most of the time for happiness. If I buy another house, bigger house, I'll be happy. If I get a child, another child, I'll be happy. If I get a promotion at work, I'll be happy. If I get more money, I'll be happy. If I remain in good health, enjoy youth and beauty, I'll be happy. These are all temporary changing things. They cannot give us lasting happiness. They promise a lot, deliver little. So why we should not look for happiness in the outside objects is explained in the next verse. What is the problem if you look for happiness in outside things like property, youth, beauty, sensory pleasures, food, dress, expensive car, etc., in which people look for happiness? What is the problem if you look for happiness in those things? That's explained in the next verse. This verse says, look for happiness in the self within, in the divine presence within. Look for happiness. It is already there. Infinite, immeasurable happiness. Akshayam Sukham. Imperishable happiness is there. In the self. Look for it. There you will get it. If you look for happiness in the outside world, you will not get it. Why we will not get happiness in the outside objects is explained in verse number 22. 22, yes. So let us do 22. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yonaya evate adyantavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Yehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkha yonaya evate adyantavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Very simple verse. Here samsparshaja bhoga means enjoyment, happiness. Coming from contact with sense objects. Samsparshaja means arising from contact with sense objects. Like gold, jewelry, ornaments, diamond. Some people find happiness in having those things. Some people find happiness in having a very expensive car. Once I told you about Jay Leno, the comedian. He has a passion for collecting cars and motorcycles. He has a very large collection of very expensive antique cars. I don't know how many, 150, 200, something like that. These are not ordinary Toyota Corolla. These are all antique, expensive cars. He has a lot of them. And motorcycles. He has collection of those. In that collection of things, he finds happiness. That is one way to find happiness in the outside objects. So what is the problem is that is explained in verse 22. This is samsparshaja bhoga, enjoyment coming from contact with sense objects. In this case, car and motorcycle. Other people do in other outside things they do. Look for happiness in property, youth and beauty, sensory pleasures, family, children, grandchildren, etc. Those are all outside objects. There is nothing wrong, but they won't give the lasting happiness that we expect them to give. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga, one thing, dukkha yoni evate. Dukkha yoni means eventually they will cause only unhappiness. For a short time they will give happiness. Why they give happiness? They go away. Separation will come. This connection with sense objects and other sources of pleasure is a very temporary connection. Those things will be there and I have to leave, or I will be there and they will leave me. One way or other, separation will come sooner or later. The people very dearest to us in our lives, we will have their company, we derive a lot of happiness from them for some time. But that's a finite duration of time. Either they will live and I will be there, or I will have to live and they will be there. Separation will come. Dukkha yoni evate. Adyantavantaha. They have a beginning and an end. Adi means beginning, anta means end. All these connections with outside objects, people, property, etc., accomplishments, etc., it has a beginning and an end. That means they are finite duration of time they will give happiness. So what is a wise person to Buddha? The last word in the second line is Buddha. Buddha means a buddhiman, a person endowed with wisdom. Such a person, teshu naramate. Teshu means in those outside sense objects, naramate does not find any pleasure, does not hanker for them. If they are there, he will enjoy, he will be thankful. If they are not there, that's okay too. That means what Sri Krishna is telling us here is, if you want true, lasting, unconditional happiness, outside sense objects are not the place where to look for it. They will give happiness for some time, highly conditional. Something will change and all those objects are there, still I may not be able to enjoy happiness will not be there. Conditional, temporary, beginning and an end. If you look for happiness in the outside world, if you look for happiness in the self within, as you saw in the previous verse, There we find infinite, eternal, unconditional, immeasurable happiness. Always there. Was always there, is always there, will always be there. But you have to find it inside. If you look for outside, you will not find it. So Sri Krishna in these two verses 21 and 22 says, if you want to look for happiness, where to look for it and where not to look for it. A set of two very important verses. Everybody is interested in happiness. Happiness is a topic of interest to everyone. Everyone is looking for happiness in their own different ways. Animals also. But we are concerned with people right now. Every human being is looking for happiness. No one looks for unhappiness. No one seeks unhappiness. Everybody seeks happiness. But majority of people look for it in the wrong place where it cannot be found. Very few people look for it in the right place where it can be found. Very few people look for happiness in the self, in God within. There they can find it. This is illustrated. The futility of looking for happiness in the outside world is illustrated in the famous story of Nachiketa in the Katha Upanishad. This little boy Nachiketa went to Yama and seeks self-knowledge, what happens after death. Yama didn't want to give that knowledge, reveal that knowledge to this little boy. Yama was not sure if the boy is really serious or does he have the background to understand if the reply is given, self-knowledge. So Yama offers instead many other things which are of common interest to ordinary people. To the boy Nachiketa, Yama offers a large kingdom, queen, dance and music, chariots and horses and elephants and property, a lot of money, treasury, and a long life to enjoy all these things. He offers all these things. Yama says to Nachiketa, take all these things, don't worry about what happens after death because you are still young. No need to worry about it. I'll give you a long life, Yama says. But what does Nachiketa do? An ordinary person would have taken all these things and gone away gleefully. Oh, all these things Yama is given, very happy. Not Nachiketa. He was made of different stuff. Nachiketa says to Yama 3-4 things. Little boy, look at the courage and the wisdom this boy had. Nachiketa says, all these things you are offering are temporary. They are there today, tomorrow they are not there. Shobhava martyasya yadantakaitat. Antaka, oh Yama, all these things you are offering, kingdom, queen and treasury and horses and elephants and music and dance, chariots, they are all temporary. Today they are there, tomorrow they are not there. Sarvendriyanam jarayanti tejaha. Enjoyment of sensory pleasures very quickly depletes the ability of sense organs to enjoy them. Short-lived enjoyment. If we keep on enjoying sensory pleasures, good food and other kinds of pleasures, we can do it for a short time. What happens after some time? The sense organs lose the ability to enjoy those sense pleasures. The acuity of sense organs will be depleted rapidly. Same, all these objects are there, present, but we will not be able to enjoy them. Old age comes and nothing gives us pleasure. The same thing which gave pleasure in our youth, they will not give pleasure anymore. The sense organs, the body loses their ability, vitality to enjoy the sense pleasure. Nachiketa had that wisdom, though he was a young boy. Then he says one more thing, Nachiketa to Yama. Navittena tarpaniyo manushyaha. Man is greedy for wealth. No matter how much money you give to a rich person, he still wants more money. There is no end to greed. No, there is no satiety, no satisfaction. More you have, more you want to get. That is not the way to find happiness. Then, with great courage and conviction, Nachiketa says to Yama on his face, little boy facing the god of death, will be simply so terrified he won't be able to say anything. The boy says, Tavaiva vahas, tavanritya gite. Keep all these things, your chariots and horses and dance and music, keep it for yourself. I don't want any of these things, I want self-knowledge. Remains firm in his quest for self-knowledge. That is sign of wisdom. That's what is explained in this verse number 21-22. Where to look for happiness, lasting happiness, unconditional happiness. Not in the sense objects outside, in the outside world they cannot. Temporary pleasure they will give. That is explained. The futility of looking for happiness in the outside world is explained in 22 nicely. So verse 22 says, Yai samsparshaja bhoga. The enjoyment, happiness that comes from sense objects outside, with sense contact with sense objects outside. Dukkha yonoya evate. Eventually they cause only disillusionment and pain, bring pain. Dissatisfaction. Why? Adyantavantaha. They have beginning and an end. They are short-lived, temporary, highly conditional. Therefore, a wise person does not hanker, run after them. Natesha ramate buddha. So in the previous verse 21, Sri Krishna said, where to look for happiness? In a self within. In the deep within us. It is already there, always been there, never was absent. We don't know, we look for happiness in the wrong place where it cannot be found. So these two verses 21-22, they tell us where to look for happiness. Happiness that is unconditional, long-lasting, eternal, infinite happiness. So we will stop here. And again the topic of equanimity will come in 23. We will do that next time. Let me say the closing prayer. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May all be happy. May all be free from afflictions. May all realize what is noble and auspicious. May no one be subject to misery. Om peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. May there be peace and harmony amongst all the beings. And may there be peace everywhere in nature. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Thank you all, and all of you stay well, and let us see next time, God willing. Thank you very much.